While they don't often ask provocative or boundary-pushing inquiries, Sigma INFJs never take a chance when it comes to poisonous individuals. To expose toxic persons, Sigma INFJ will pose the following 7 questions. 7. Who are the folks that you associate with? Sigma INFJ seeks to understand the person's social circles of choice, since toxic people might be identified by the connections they have. A warning sign is raised if they habitually associate with people that behave badly or manipulatively. The Sigma INFJ is aware that a person's values and inclinations are frequently reflected in the company they keep. In the same way, the answer to this query may reveal the toxic person's role in their relationships. Toxic people may take advantage of others or enter into relationships with the intention of benefiting themselves. Because of their natural grasp of social dynamics, Sigma INFJs are able to detect patterns or discrepancies that point to a lack of empathy or genuineness. Thus, Sigma INFJ uses the inquiry about social circle members as a tactical instrument to reveal possible toxicity. They are able to ascertain from the responses if the person cultivates positive, wholesome relationships or demonstrates manipulative and destructive behaviors. 6. How do you resolve disputes or issues in your relationships? The Sigma INFJ, who values conflict resolution, tries to figure out how the poisonous person handles relationship difficulties. When there is a disagreement, toxic people frequently act aggressively or manipulatively in an attempt to dominate or control the situation. The Sigma INFJ question is a useful tool for determining if an individual prefers damaging and destructive actions or values open communication, compromise, and resolution. The answer to this query may reveal how capable the toxic individual is of accepting accountability for their deeds. Toxic people may use gaslighting tactics, shift the blame elsewhere, or evade responsibility. Because of their intuitive nature, Sigma INFJs are able to recognize warning signs of low self-awareness or a tendency to participate in unhealthy relationship dynamics. The inquiry also probes the person's emotional development. When faced with disagreement, toxic people may find it difficult to control their emotions, which can result in erratic or manipulative behavior. The Sigma INFJ's emphasis on conflict resolution demonstrates their curiosity about whether the other party handles arguments in a positive way or by using negative strategies. 5. What are your long-term objectives and dreams? The goal of the Sigma INFJ is to comprehend the depth of the person's goals and how they affect other people. A toxic person may exhibit a self-centered mentality that puts personal gain ahead of the success or fulfillment of others around them, as well as a disregard for their own well-being. Answering this question might also reveal any inclination toward manipulation or a disdain for morality. Goals like taking advantage of other people, pursuing achievement at the price of morals, or employing dishonest tactics to accomplish their goals can be expressed by toxic people. The Sigma INFJ inquiry is a useful tool for identifying potential harmful qualities by revealing any values misalignment. Understanding long-term objectives enables the Sigma INFJ to evaluate the person's ability to work with others and form a sincere bond. People that are toxic may express goals that are only focused on their own accomplishments, without considering the positive engagement and development of others around them. Thus, by being aware of long-term objectives and desires, the Sigma INFJ carefully highlights possible dangers. Asking this question can reveal a lot about a person's moral principles, ethical standards, and how much their life path takes into account the goals and well-being of others. 4. Could you give an example of a circumstance in which you had to own up to your mistakes? The Sigma INFJ looks at examples of accepting responsibility in order to ascertain how that person handles faults and blunders. People who are toxic frequently have trouble taking responsibility, shifting the blame elsewhere, coming up with justifications, or refusing to face their own failings. Finding tendencies of avoidance or a lack of self-awareness that can point to a toxic mentality is the goal of the Sigma INFJ inquiry. The answer to this question can also reveal a person's interpersonal and emotional intelligence. When talking about their errors, toxic people may exhibit a lack of empathy or understanding, which emphasizes their tendency towards self-centeredness. With their keen understanding of human dynamics, the Sigma INFJ is able to discern clues that indicate whether an individual sincerely seeks improvement and learns from their mistakes. Additionally, by inquiring about accepting responsibility, the Sigma INFJ can assess the person's honesty and integrity. In order to avoid taking responsibility, toxic people may fabricate a false story to boost their ego. The Sigma INFJ inquiry is a useful tool for identifying any discrepancies or lack of sincerity in an individual's admission of responsibility for errors. 3. In what ways do you put your own health and the health of people around you first? Toxic and selfish people might exhibit a self-centered attitude, prioritizing their own interests over the welfare of others in their social circle. The goal of the Sigma INFJ inquiry is to identify any instances of narcissism or a lack of true concern for other people. The answer to this query can also reveal a person's level of emotional intelligence and awareness of appropriate boundaries. Individuals who are toxic may display actions that neglect the psychological or physical needs of those in their vicinity, demonstrating a deficiency in empathy or an incapacity to establish a supportive atmosphere. One useful technique for identifying neglect or indifference patterns is the Sigma INFJ inquiry. Additionally, by inquiring about well-being and self-care, the Sigma INFJ can gauge the person's dedication to building wholesome relationships. Toxic people may put their own demands ahead of others, which can cause imbalances and strained relationships. The astute attitude of the Sigma INFJ makes it easier to determine whether the individual actively participates in fostering a positive and peaceful social environment. Thus, the Sigma INFJ deliberately raises possible toxicity by inquiring about self-care and concern for others. This question offers important information about the person's empathy, values, and relationship quality. 2. Describe a situation in which you had to give in order to further the greater good. People who are toxic may find it difficult to compromise and to adopt a rigid attitude that puts their own interests ahead of the needs of society. The Sigma INFJ inquiry aims to expose any indications of rigidity or disregard for the good of the group. The way someone answers this question can also provide insight into their comprehension of collaboration and their aptitude for negotiating intricate social situations. People who are toxic may exhibit a resistance to making concessions or a propensity to control circumstances for their own benefit. The Sigma INFJ inquiry is a useful tool for identifying any patterns of self-serving behavior that can point to a lack of concern for the welfare of the greater group. Additionally, the question concerning giving in for the greater good enables the Sigma INFJ to evaluate the person's ethical concerns and moral compass. Self-interest may take precedence over morality in toxic people, potentially indicating a contempt for principles that foster a peaceful and encouraging social milieu. The observant nature of the Sigma INFJ makes it easier to determine whether an individual actively participates in activities that advance the well of the group. 1. What coping strategies do you employ, and how do you manage stress? The Sigma INFJ aims to comprehend the person's coping strategies and emotional control by asking about stress management. Individuals that are toxic may display negative or damaging coping mechanisms, including aggressiveness, avoidance, or substance misuse. The purpose of the Sigma INFJ question is to identify any warning signs that might point to a harmful reaction to stress. The way someone answers this question can also provide insight into their capacity for poise and thoughtful action under duress. When under stress, toxic people may act erratically or manipulatively, exhibiting a lack of emotional stability or a propensity to cause stress to others. The Sigma INFJ inquiry is a useful tool for identifying any detrimental stress management behaviors that can point to possible toxicity. By inquiring about coping strategies, the Sigma INFJ can evaluate the person's general mental health. Toxic people might be self-obliging or unwilling to adopt constructive coping mechanisms, which feeds a negative feedback loop. The astute approach of the Sigma INFJ enables one to determine whether an individual actively searches out healthy coping mechanisms for stress or has a propensity to maintain a harmful pattern. Do you also want to reveal other people's toxicity as a Sigma INFJ? Do you pose these challenging queries to them?